Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Kilbertus. I'm the Senior Manager, Communications and PR at Crohn's and Colitis Canada. It's great to be with you here today because I know that you are some of the people making a big difference in the lives of people with Crohn's and colitis and people who are affected by these diseases. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thank you for what you're doing. And I fully realize that media relations is potentially not something you do on a day-to-day basis. It's something in some ways above and beyond. And potentially, in some cases, it could be a little bit scary, a little bit intimidating. So I'm hoping to give you some tools and tips and information and to equip you to be able to do a wonderful job of getting our message out and ideally making it so that members of the media will want to write, report, talk about our work and our Gutsy walks. So let's dive right in. So today we'll be covering some of the following items: discovering the opportunities and how to approach them, then asking for media coverage to the various media outlets or journalists, some tools and tips about how to do that, how to take care of media requests, and what to do when the media actually want to know more, how we can meet those needs and give them what they want so that they will want as well to cover our events. Why should we even be thinking about media coverage? These are busy events. You've got a lot of other things to do. And so what's the benefit? Well, first of all, we can raise the awareness and engagement about Gutsy Walk and our mission. And so that's a big opportunity. There's also the possibility of media coverage reaching new donors, volunteers, and members of the public. We can generate donations, and certainly we can build our community. So there are a lot of benefits, and fully recognizing that it's not necessarily one-to-one with regards to effort and results, but nevertheless, when there are results, it can certainly be very rewarding and with lots of benefits. So it's definitely worth the effort. A couple of examples of the 2022 media coverage. So to give you some ideas about what it can look like, and these are obviously online, as much of what else has been produced and covered that's where it's going to be. So at the left, you've got a article in Sudbury.com, and on the right, you've got an image from St. John's, Newfoundland, and some of the media coverage that happened there. So we see our logo, we see talk about our annual fundraisers, you see some of the people. So it's really great. We get awareness, we get a sense of excitement, we get a sense that we're doing something and we're bringing people together. So you are the Gutsy Walk media captain. So what do you do? Well, you work with your staff partner to develop a media outreach strategy. So what exactly are you going to do and what do you hope to achieve? So we prepare materials that can be customized across the country. So things that you can put in your name and contact information and specifics, but it's a template that you can use and adjust as necessary. So saving you some of the work and doing things in a way that is fairly standard for the media to look at. Certainly part of what you can do is engage with reporters and news outlets, be they online, print, radio, and TV, with the guidance and support of your staff partner. It's much better when a local person reaches out to local media because you are a member of their community. And certainly, whenever possible, to help secure some in-kind contributions of media coverage and promotion, because that is something that has great benefit as well to make our events more they're more known of in your communities, and therefore the benefits of knowledge, awareness, participation all can come as a result. So this presentation is in some ways a how-to guide, and these are the three things that we're going to cover. So building media lists, completing community event calendars, and then reaching out to reporters and newsrooms. So let's dig in. So the steps to build a media list. So step one is you have to do some search and a little bit of research for print, including weekly newspapers, radio, online, and television outlets in your area. One of the great resources you have very close at hand is Wikipedia. You can search for media in Moncton, media in Winnipeg, media in Red Deer, Alberta, and you will get a very good list. Not necessarily 100% perfect, but it will definitely give you a lot to work with. It covers a lot and pretty much everything in your community, and it's relatively up to date. So if you want a reference point, that's a great place to start. Step two is go to the website of the various media outlets and identify a best reporter for you to contact. So it's not always 100% clear. There could be a variety of names there. Nevertheless, it's something that you can do, you can take advantage of, and it can be wonderful in terms of a first contact. So with regards to print, so newspapers, some of the digital media like the websites, you look for assignment desks, health and lifestyle reporters or editors, and events, people who cover events. So that's the kind of things that you should be looking for, the keywords. Television and radio, usually you have to go to the assignment desk or the news desk, look for news editors, schedulers, program hosts, and those are the people and those are the keywords to look for. Next, one thing to keep in mind is that if a reporter or journalist covered your event last year and is still with the media, still in your area, in your city, that's a great lead for you to follow up, and someone who you can turn to again because they obviously have memory and they know about it and they're already halfway down the road to being able to cover the event. Certainly, that may or may not be the case, but always it's of interest to identify reporters who are interested in feel good stories, local stories, people in the local community who are supporting charities and the community as a whole, events happening in the community, events hosted by charities, especially national charities, health topics. Those are areas that pretty much every news outlet will have some coverage of these topics. And so you have to find the best people and some leads to approach. How do you find a reporter's contact information? Well, here's a couple of tips. On the Contact Us page of any media outlet or something similar to that, it will list reporters and their contact information. So on the left there, you see from the St. Catherine Standard, the Contact Us. And you have someone who you've got who's the person to reach out to with regards to news tips. Certainly, someone who's written past articles, either coverage of Gutsy Walk or of similar types of fundraising events or health topics. These are all people who you can approach. Potentially, the easiest way to reach out to someone, and it's a good place to start, is just Google search, email address, and the person's name. And sometimes it will just come up right away. Not 100%, but it's certainly a good thing to try and a good way to start. Sometimes it might be a little bit of a head scratcher. Well, who should I reach out to? Well, that's when the time is to reach out to the media outlets' general contact information. They will always have a news tips or contact us. And it's often a form you have to fill out. And so it's just something that is pretty normal. And they are going to be monitoring it and something, excuse me, that you can do to easily start the conversation with them. From one reporter, you might want to reach out to several reporters. If your community has a TV station, radio station, weekly newspaper, daily newspaper, or a variety of those, and potentially an online news page as well. So in this case, I've gone to Inside Halton. Now, Inside Halton covers a number of areas. And when you do a Google search, you've got on one page, doesn't quite look like this, but something similar. You've got, for each area, you've got some of their links to stories that they're covering. And so these are things that are good places to start, good places to think about, okay, well, how do I learn some more? How do I find the best way in? If you are looking at a variety of people in your community because you've got a number of media outlets, one suggestion is to use an Excel template sheet or a Word document if you prefer, and grow and keep track of your list. So the media outlets and reporters, community calendars, which we'll touch on in a minute, and some story ideas. So who potentially can be speakers, representatives talking about either Gutsy Walk or Crohn's and colitis in your community, because it's all about the community in terms of media coverage. So that's a good thing to do. And also, it could help you or someone in the years to come as a starting point. It will never be perfect. Things change over time, but nevertheless, it's a good resource. It's a good starting point. So that's the first area, how to build some media lists. Now let's look at completing community event calendars, which are usually online, sometimes in print as well, or on TV stations or on radio stations. And they talk about what's happening in a community. Hopefully, you've all heard or seen them. And it's a wonderful way to get awareness of an event among your communities by touching on them, by having some information there that other people can see. So let's look at ways to do that. So there are usually two options. There's often an online form on media websites, and sometimes there could be someone whose name is attached to the events, as we saw with the Niagara example earlier, who will be the person who takes care of bringing all that information together. So you can email that person. Another thing is we may also, through our resources, be able to identify some of these opportunities for you in the coming weeks leading up to the event. So here's some best practices. For community events, often, I'm again taking from the Inside Halton experience. So you see, this was all one column, but I put it out so you have a sense of like how much information there could be on a contact us page. So there's a listing of all the reporters and editors, where to go for news tips, as well as community events. And in this case, you can either log into a City Spark, which is their events partner, an online page, or to go directly to Inside Halton at metroland.com to share the information. So this is typical of how a media outlet would work, or one example of it. So it's something to keep in mind, and certainly a quick and easy way to get the information out and to get it into the, before the eyes of members of the public. Here's another example, Global TV in BC, and they have a form. And so you can upload information and photos and potentially a document to help out, to give them some information to go on to start their efforts and have enough in order to push it out onto their pages that list community events. A non-media website is called Meetup, and Meetup is just a listing of all kinds of different events of every single type, where people get together in a community to do any number of things. And so it is something that we can use and be part of. And again, it's a free way to get our message out and get more people to see. So it's something definitely to consider. So that's the second area, community event calendars. Now, let's look at reaching out to reporters and newsrooms to get some coverage in the on the news pages. The following elements are content that is available or will be shortly on the Gutsy Walk volunteer tools. So key messages about Gutsy Walk, Crohn's and Colitis Canada, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, a pitch template, so a document to use to reach out to an individual reporter, a media advisory, which is something to reach out to the media outlet itself and sort of say, here's the basic information about our event so you can start thinking about covering it, as well as a community event calendar template. So what you could put into such a community event calendar listing that just showed a moment ago. So let's look at the media advisory. A media advisory is a one-pager, goes out in advance of the event, and it's a summary highlighting the key information a reporter or editor needs to know about Gutsy Walk. It's something you can attach to an email. Not always the greatest ideas because sometimes media outlets block attachments. So it could be at times you might want to try first to just include all the information in an email, the body of the email, just because there's a risk, potentially a small risk, that things could be blocked. And it answers all the basic questions: when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, why, and some of the highlights. In essence, it answers the question for a reporter or an editor who tells reporters what to cover. Why should I cover this event? Why is this of interest? It is to pique their interest, give them just enough information so that they say, yes, this is something we want to cover. Once that's been sent out, well, let's talk about pitching. So, what is a pitch? It's your ask, it's your promotion to usually an individual, an editor, or a reporter. And it's an attempt to get them interested enough in the story we want to tell that they will want to cover it, that it's newsworthy enough in your community to talk about this. And what will capture their interest? A compelling story, and potentially various compelling stories. So, and particularly a compelling local story. How is this affecting your community? Who are some of the people in your community who are affected by these diseases? So, how to reach out to a reporter or an editor to pitch? Well, by phone or email. So, what to include? Well, you have to indicate that you are reaching out on behalf of Crohn's and Colitis Canada, share who you are, your name, a little bit on the high level details about what's happening on the day. We're having a fundraising walk at such and such a place at such and such a time on this day in order to support research and services for people affected by Crohn's and colitis. And by the way, did you know there are this many people in Canada, and potentially, if you know the numbers, this many people in our community affected by these diseases? Certainly, to talk about the purpose of Gutsy Walk, what the funds raised will go to support, the importance of the event, its impact on the local community. One thing is the money, another thing is just this building of community and building, giving people meaning in their efforts to live with and try to eliminate Crohn's and colitis. And certainly, if you have an interview opportunity with someone who's eager to tell their story. If it can be a younger person, even better. That usually works better with the media. And certainly to have all the information either attached or in your email about the event that is taken from the media advisory. How do you make your ask? Well, keep in mind the following. Number one, keep it short. I will give a rough number, but if it's an email, try to keep it between 100 and 150 words. Long emails means the person reading it will lose interest. They'll scroll, and move on, right? Nobody feels they have time for long emails. So really keep it as short and tight and as absolutely minimal as you can. Obviously, trying to balance that with there has to be basic information and something there that will attract a reporter. Some of the things you can do is build on the fact that you are familiar with the outlet, or you become a little bit familiar by doing some research and going to their website and checking out. Certainly, if they've written about us in the past or covered our events on TV or radio, that's a good thing to notice, and show how our story aligns. Well, you tell them, look, you've covered health stories in your community, and here's another one that can be of interest to you. Certainly, if you've got local information, the amounts raised in the past, how many people are affected by the diseases, how many people have come out for the walks in the past, that's all really relevant information because that takes it from a national event to something that's local and with local relevance. And certainly to talk about how this will be relevant to members of the community, even just using the statistic 1% of people in Canada. So that means X number of people in our community as well are affected by these diseases. And certainly try to use a catchy, direct subject line. It has to be short as well. So you have to think about that, but definitely, and if you can, make it something that grabs the attention of the reporter, because in some ways that might be the only thing they will see, and that's going to be the thing that gets them to look at the rest of the information you want to share. Potentially you reach out and the days go by and you don't hear anything. So after a number of days, maybe potentially a week, depending how close you are to the event, send a follow-up email, and say, well, hey, I sent this, just wondering if you might be interested. Certainly happy to talk to you and provide you more details. Certainly you can make a phone call as well, fully recognizing reporters are busy and not necessarily have a lot of time for phone calls, but if certainly if you feel that that could work in your community, feel very welcome to do so. Let's say we and you win the lottery and you find some journalist or journalists who are interested. They get back to you. Now, what do you have to do? Well, that's the whole different kettle of fish. Now, sort of in some ways, the fun part. You've piqued their interest, they're interested, and they want to cover our event. How great is that? That's already a win. So you have the tools and people to help you make the next steps successful as well. First and foremost, reach out to your staff partner and certainly email media@crohnsandcolitis.ca to let us know about these opportunities and if you need any help. We can help you through media training, certainly if there are higher profile opportunities. And there are tools available under the Gutsy Walk volunteer tools to help you out as well. Let's say that it all turns out great and there is a news report in some way, shape, or form. Certainly let your staff partner know of any coverage so that we can use that in our national social media, as well as potentially in your local social media as well, because that just provides us with another opportunity to show, that we are part of the community, people are taking interest, and that just gives greater credibility to what we're doing. And it's another way to profile us. When dealing with members of the media, here are some principles, 5 basic principles. Be prepared. It's somewhat unpredictable, but nevertheless, preparation always helps. So take some time, read the messages, practice with a family member, practice in front of a mirror, do whatever you want, speak out loud, whatever it can do to help you, because that time invested will pay off. Be optimistic, plan for the win. We are on the side of the Angels, and the coverage that we are going to get is usually going to be positive, if not extremely positive. So we don't have to worry that much about, gotchas or negative coverage. Pretty much we are going to receive positive coverage. So be optimistic. It's not 100% sure, but it is pretty much sure. Remember, you are the message, that you are the one, you are a volunteer, you're someone united with our cause, potentially affected by the cause. So you've got a lot to say, you've got a lot of credibility, and be willing to share that. Talk to your audience. Certainly you have to talk to the journalists, but remember, you're reaching out beyond the journalists to the people who will be watching, listening, reading this. So make sure you're thinking about them as well. And stay in command. You are the expert. You're the one who has the information. You're the one who has the expertise. And the media will recognize that and be supportive of that. So don't worry too much, but certainly remember the power you've got in these dealings with the media. In the event you have an interview, it's a bit long, but nevertheless, some tips to keep in mind. Prepare. Take some time to prepare. Review the key messages you want to share. It could be about the local event. Hey, this is the 10th time we do it in our community. Last year we had 500 people. We raised this much money, and so on and so forth. It could be telling your own personal story about your connection to the cause. Share for your enthusiasm you have for Gutsy Walk. Smile. Like, these are fun events. You look at the videos, you look at the coverage, people are happy. People are engaged. They are really in a positive mood to be there. So that's something you can share. Tell real stories. So avoid cliches and jargon. Talk about real people, real experiences, how it affects them. That is what is going to give power to the story. Again, smile, breathe, consider you're having a conversation with a friend. Don't be afraid of microphones and cameras and all the kind of paraphernalia that will potentially be put in front of you. Just try your best to, smile, breathe, and speak as if you're having a conversation. In the event that you don't have the answer, say so. Don't make things up and say, well, I can get back to you on this. I don't have it offhand. And just that is a fair answer. When you're thinking what you should be wearing, so certainly your Gutsy Walk t-shirt, and avoid any strong, solid red, white, green, black, or heavenly patterned tops when you're dealing with the TV. And if you're talking to a television reporter, look them in the eye. Don't look at the camera. And they will potentially remind you of that, but that's just a good tip to remember. In the event you're doing a Zoom call, look at the camera rather than the image on the screen. So again, something to help you out to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, even on that point as well. What are some of the things you might be asked? Well, what's the purpose of Gutsy Walk? Where do the proceeds go? How much money stays in the community? What's your connection to this event? How can someone get involved? What is Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis? How many people are affected by these diseases? Those are some of the questions that might arise. And certainly you've got the background information in our FAQs, our frequently asked questions, and our key messages. So that's the importance of spending some time going over them, trying to, process them, absorb them. So you've got that information ideally at the tip of your tongue, or, available beside you in a printout if need be. After the event, we will put out, through Crohn's and Colitis Canada, a press release. It's a summary, ideally to draw the attention of reporters. We'll post it on our website, as well as on a national newswire, a service that goes out to most of 99% of media outlets in Canada. And we can certainly, and you can certainly as well, send that out to highlight the event's success and potentially add a little bit specific to what happened in your community. So what does it communicate? The who, what, where, why, and when, and certainly at a national level, the total amount we raised, what the funds will support, and we'll have some quotes from our CEO, other senior executives potentially, talking about, well, ideally how happy we are, how successful it was, and what a difference it will make. Moving on, so that I've covered the media portion of this presentation. Now, just a few words about the marketing resources. So tied in with, but they're not the same thing. So opportunities and resources you have to get the message out about Gutsy Walk through some other channels that are not necessarily media, TV, newspapers, websites, etc. Although a lot of this will be potentially on radio and websites, but in a more of an advertising type of approach. So we've got promotional assets, radio ads called public service announcements. So often radio stations will make available time for free to share with local audiences. Sometimes it can be it could be on their website, or it could be on a live radio feed. So we've got in English 10 and 30-second ads, and likewise in French. So those are certainly, if not available when you listen to this, in very short order, they will be. We already have available promotional ad sets. So at the left, it's a printout, so something that can be used as a handout. And the ones on the right in English and French are the digital ads. So things that people, if they want to give us free digital advertising on their website, these are things that we can make available to them, and will, get in front of people and give more information out and ways for them to know about the event and ideally to participate. So to wrap up, thank you very much for what you're doing. You are taking the message and using it using, our resources to reach more people, to build more awareness, ideally to raise more money, to make a difference in the lives of more people affected by Crohn's and colitis. So you're doing a great job. Thank you for everything that you're doing. And to wrap up, any questions that you may have, certainly you have your staff partner, but feel free as well to reach out to media@crohnsandcolitis.ca. That's our email account. And someone's looking at it all the time, so we can get back to you and help you out and hopefully work together to make all of us even more successful. Thank you again. Have a wonderful Gutsy walk and great success in your media outreach. Goodbye. Have a great day.